I welcome you to His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj's daily call. Maharaj has been talking about. Thank you. Maharaj has been giving classes on the Queen Kunti's prayers. So I would request Maharaj if you can suggest if we are continuing on the same topic, or Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Or Glory Srila Prabhupada.
Haribol.
Haribol Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
My obeisances to you and to all devotees. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpa Dhurubhascha, Vipasindhu Bhavacha, Titanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namaho Namaha, Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jaya. So continue with Queen Kunti. I think it's 44, right?
I was told it's 43, Maharaj. I will share the screen and then we can see. Let me go to 40.
Go to 43.
43, okay.
Let's see what 43 is.
This is 43, Maharaj.
Can't see the I have to see the translation.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, this is okay. This is the verse.
Okay, good, Maharaj. Yep, yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8. 43, prayers by Queen Kunti. This is the last prayer in the series of prayers. And so she ends this series of prayers by saying, Shri Krishna Krishna Saka Vrishara Vrishi Rasa Bhavani Druk Rajanyavasam Dayanam Bhavarga Virya Govinda Godvipa Surati Haravatara Yogeshwara Kila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief among the descendants of Krishna, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distress of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer my respectful obeisances. I offer you my respectful obeisances. Read that again. O Krishna, friend of Arjuna, O chief among the descendants of Krishna, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on the earth. Your power never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental bowl, and you descend to relieve the distresses of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all mystic power, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You're the Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. Purport. A summary of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is made herein by Srimati Kunti Devi. The Almighty Lord has his eternal transcendental abode where he is engaged in keeping Sarabi cows. He is served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. He descends to the material world to reclaim his devotees and to annihilate the disturbing elements and groups of political parties and kings who are supposed to be in charge of administration work. He creates, maintains, and annihilates by his unlimited energies, and still he is always full of prowess and does not deteriorate in potency. The cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees of the Lord are all objects of his special attention because they are very important factors for the general welfare of living beings. Ganajana Salakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine. Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya De Sutarine. Panchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Titanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, as Prabhupada says in the first line, the Supreme Lord is giving a summary. Kunti Devi is summarizing up all of her previous prayers by this particular prayer, which concludes her very prayerful expression of glorification of the Lord. And here, this is quite inclusive, or you might say, yeah, it includes everything of the essence of the Lord's relationship with his devotees, the Lord's relationship with the earth. It's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam that a human society becomes progressive, or is progressive, or we might say a human society becomes a human society. Not like just because people have 2 arms and 2 legs, it does not make them human beings. They look like human beings, but they act like animals. So society is not dependent so much on form, it's presented on the consciousness. So human consciousness is centered around 3 principles which make up the political, social, economic, aesthetic, ecclesiastical, and spiritual principles that govern the human life. And what is that? And 3 of them are mentioned, and that is Brahminical culture, living according to the values of higher principles in the mode of goodness, and working according to those principles, developing those qualities and using those qualities to serve the Lord and to serve others. 2, protecting animals, especially the cow. The cow is a very, what we say, necessary animal for the upliftment and for the maintenance of human society. What is that upliftment? The cow provides, and the bull, we have to include the bull. The bull tills the land, makes the land fertile for the planting of agriculture. The cow produces milk, products that are derived from milk, cow dung, which is used to heat one's home, cow dung, which is used for cooking one's food. The cow, the presence of the cow gives auspiciousness. The cow by nature is a very loving animal, a very sentient being, the highest evolution in the animal species is the cow. All other animals fall lower than that in consciousness. The cow is the highest. And the cows are very perceptive and also very affectionate by nature. And there are so many other benefits that we have with the cow that we can't even list them all. We can describe so many products that the human society needs is all coming from the cow dung, the cow urine, or the cow's connection with the earth. Simply by the cow walking on the earth, she actually cultivates the ground in other words, she makes the ground fertile for the planting of crops simply by her hooves. So these are just a few of the unlimited. And of course, from the spiritual point of view, we use cow dung, cow urine, milk, ghee, yogurt, so many things that come from the cow to worship the deity. That's what's called panchagavya. When we do the abhishek, one of the types of abhishek is called panchagavya, the 5 ingredients that come from the cow. So the deity is actually bathed with cow urine and cow dung, which is considered to be the purest of all ingredients on earth. Everything else is considered to be contaminated, but these things don't require purification, they are already pure. And Krishna's planet is Goloka, the planet of the cows. And Krishna has shows so much time, affection, and care for the cows. He did that as an example and along with his own personal pleasure when he was here 5,000 years ago in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So these are the two principles, the protection of the Brahmanas or the culture of Brahminical society, the protection and the use of cows and bulls. And the third aspect is worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is that the Lord protects the devotees because they provide worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're performing the activities of human form, and they also teach others. So Krishna is very keen or very enthusiastic to give the brahmanas, the cows, and the devotees special attention and special protection. Not only as an individual care for them, but what they provide for the whole human culture. So we see from this summation of Queen Kunti here, she knows exactly what human life is meant to be and it should be, and the ingredients of that. And she says, Krishna, you provide and you also protect these elements. So therefore you are the Almighty God. You never deteriorate. You are full of all mystic power, and I offer my respectful obeisances. And when these animals, humans, get in distress, you relieve their distress because of their role in human society is most prominent. Otherwise, there's no human society. And she goes on to begin her glorification. You are the destroyer of the political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Yada yada hi dharmasya. Vani bhavati bharatam abhutanam madharmasya tatatmaham sujamyaham. Paritranayam sadunam vinasanaya chaduskritam dharma samspartanatayam sambhavami yuge yuge. Pavitranayam sadunam vinasanaya saduskritam. He destroys the duskritins. He elevates religious principles. Leave the spoon. Leave it. Okay. Who's leaving? He protects the devotees. So Krishna very emphatically states his reasons for appearing on this earth. And here, Queen Kunti, she's present, and Krishna is there. He's just finished the fighting in the Battle of Kurukshetra. He's destroyed the political parties which were trying to exploit the earth, and with their avaricious nature wanted to take power among which wasn't rightly theirs. So we live in a very similar situation today. In fact, maybe even more so. The whole world is overburdened with leaders in different countries around the world who simply do not care for people in general. They don't know, or they don't want to follow religious principles. They created this false sense of separation of church and state. They say there shouldn't be any religious principles. Everything should be managed by secular means. And therefore, secular means exploitation, constant rivalry, wars, various types of intrigue, and high-level forms of crime. This goes on today, and this is mentioned throughout the scriptures, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam. And when Krishna came, he came to relieve the earth of these, we say, burdensome. He killed Kamsa, he killed Shishupal, he killed Dantravarka, he killed Pondraka, he killed so many powerful demons. There's a whole long list. Jarasandha was one of the most powerful, even more powerful than Kamsa. So we had such a long list, and Krishna spent many years arranging for these demons to be eliminated. And he did it very systematically. So you see, when he comes to the material world, he does that. So you might say, well, why doesn't he come now and take care of business here now? We have so many misleaders who are exploiting the people, just taking people's money, giving false propaganda how they can be happy, and destroying cows wholesale all around the world. Thousands and thousands of cows are being killed just for no reason other than for economic gain, or in order to enjoy their senses. So this is the world today. So why doesn't Krishna come and just eliminate this? And Prabhupada said, well, he has come. He's come as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to introduce the Yuga Dharma. Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama eva kevalom kalom nasteva nasteva tathir anyata. That in this age of Kali, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the means by which one can push back the effects of Kali Yuga and eliminate what we say, the inauspicious elements on the earth, which are falsely claiming possession of the earth and exploiting the earth for their own selfish interests. So this chanting of the holy names of the Lord is actually what is called, Shastra. There are two things. One is called Shastra and one is called Shastra. Both are spelled the same, but the emphasis is said differently. Shastra means literature, or we might say scripture, and Shastra means weapon. So that weapon to destroy the kings, rulers, politicians, whatever, is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So when it's done regularly throughout the world, and it will push back the effects of Kali Yuga and remove this evil power that is dominating the earth. So we have a very similar situation in the world today, just like it was when Krishna came 5,000 years ago. But In due course of time, Lord Chaitanya's movement will increase and spread everywhere and anywhere, because human society must be governed by religious principles. And therefore, one of the names of the Lord is he's called Dharmaraj. He also upholds the principles of religion and makes sure that there are those who represent principles of religion become leaders within the world. And this is gradually happening in some places. But Kali Yuga is spreading quite fast, and much faster than was expected. It's practically becoming almost some of the statements made in the scriptures about how it will be towards the end of Kali Yuga is actually happening right now, because Kali is very much afraid of Lord Chaitanya, knowing that Lord Chaitanya's movement is very powerful and he has no chance to overcome it. So he's working as fast as he could to influence people all around the world to take up sinful life as the means to live. So so Krishna is called, he destroys those political parties that disturbs the earth. He is the proprietor of the transcendental abode. In other words, the transcendental abode where Krishna descends from is non-different than him. We speak about spiritual as being non-different. His name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, his pure devotees, his abode in the spiritual world are what we call abhinnam. They are non-different than him. And anyone who takes shelter of any of these aspects of the absolute spiritual principle is taking shelter of Krishna through that absolute point of non-difference. So his transcendental abode is non-different than him. And he is the proprietor of that abode. In other words, the abode is meant for those devotees who worship the Lord in pure, loving devotion. This is a very nice verse. It really glorifies Krishna in so many ways. And then she ends by saying, you are the preceptor of the entire universe. In other words, you know everything that's going on everywhere throughout the entire universe. You're the one who brings it about. You actually know. It says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna speaks about himself. He says, in the beginning, there was only I. During the manifestation, there is only I. And after the annihilation, I remain. So Krishna is the beginning, middle, and end of everything. So the universes are coming from his body, Mahavishnu, and they are there, and he maintains them through his expansion as the Vishnu incarnations of the Lord. As Brahma is the creator, as Shiva is the destroyer, Vishnu is the maintainer. So all of the universes are maintained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She makes that point that you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God. In other words, there are so many gods. When Srila Prabhupada was beginning our movement in 26 Second Avenue back in the days when he first appeared in New York City, they were trying to decide what to name this newly formed society that Prabhupada had. And they were coming up, and one devotee suggested we should call it the International Society for God Consciousness. And Prabhupada said, no, it'll be the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He said, otherwise they'll bring so many gods. There'll be this God and that God and this God and that God. We are here to worship Krishna and spread the glories of Krishna and teach others how to do the same. So we are teaching about Krishna, not just the principle of God. But here she qualifies that by saying that there are many gods, but you are the Almighty God, that God who is supreme amongst all the different gods. So you can see how beautiful she aligns her prayers up, not only in a devotional way, but very much exact according to scriptural understanding. Her prayers are conclusive in all of the qualities and activities of the Supreme Lord, both in the spiritual world and when he comes to this material world. And as a dutiful, loving devotee of the Lord, she ends, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. So it's these prayers by Queen Kunti are just so full of devotion, full of transcendental knowledge of the nature of the Lord, full of transcendental information of the activities that the Lord performs both in the spiritual world and in the material world. There is a class of people who like to put God in a more of a lesser position by saying that God is impersonal. Or they say that in this material world, God appears as Dhiridya Narayan. He is that Narayan who is poor by nature. They concoct this idea that God has become Dhiridra, which is just somebody's creation. God can never be Dhiridra. He is the almighty supreme source of everything. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matat sarva pravartante iti matava bhajanti mandura bhava samangutaham. Everything comes from me, both material and spiritual. And not only is he the creator, he's the maintainer, he's this, and he uses his energies when he wants to annihilate. So he is from all. So how can he be called Dhiridra? For those who refer to God as Dhiridra or as something impersonal, actually insult the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not a form of worship, it's a form of insult. Saying that God is poor, he has no form, therefore he has no legs, he has no body, he has no brain, he's lame, he can't walk, he has no eyes, he can't see. So these are the so-called spiritualists who claim that God is impersonal, and therefore they negate his personal form, therefore they're negating him directly. But here we see Queen Kunti's, who's playing around with the,
Sorry, Guru Maharaj.
What's going on?
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, I will share my. Yeah.
Okay. We're looking at Fort Worth, Texas. What was that supposed to mean? Something?
No.
Okay, so we'll stop there and see if there's any questions or comments.
Sure. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for a wonderful explanation of the verse. It's so beautifully explained, Queen Kunti's last verse on the prayers. So devotees, if you have any question, comments, realizations, please unmute yourself and ask questions. And it would be really nice to have your darshans if you can keep your cameras on while in discussion. And you can type in the chat box if you can't speak. I will read it out for you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, Kanchan Prabhu, you can go ahead. Sorry, we can't hear you, Prabhu. No, not yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry. Is that okay? I'm audible now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, just thinking about, this is something that's been on my mind a little bit, and just reading this and hearing about Krishna's supremacy. No? Okay.
Louder.
Yes, we can hear you, Prabhu.
Hearing about Krishna's supremacy, hearing about Krishna being the person. When I find myself, Maharaj, wanting to be Krishna, in the sense when I find myself wanting to be the center of many different relationships. Krishna is the center of all relationships, but what I find myself doing is wanting to be that center of relationship, wanting to be Krishna. Like I want to be important. I want to be seen as important. And therefore, when devotees are getting together, I want to kind of just plonk myself in there and be in the middle of it all. And just, even if I'm just like unnecessarily putting myself there, the mind and the ego is doing that. So I was just wondering if you have any tips or advice on how to not do that so much.
Well, when you think about it, what are you trying to do? You're actually, it's something that's based on a false premise, because even if you're seen as the center and you somehow successfully create that environment where people see you in that way, what do you get out of it?
Yeah.
You get this false understanding that you're important, or you get this false understanding that everything centers around you. So we can excel in certain activities where we're with other people, and that importance may simply gravitate towards us. We are given that particular what we say, acknowledgement, but it happens without us trying that. In other words, if you do something that is outstanding, or you somehow perform in such a way that other people are attracted, fine. But keeping Krishna in the center, that's all. Not, in other words, we can do it and it'll happen naturally. But if you're trying to do that, and then it's the false ego, trying to somehow or other put yourself in a position of getting some, then it's part of the subtle forms of material desires, that's all. The gross forms we know of, these are more subtle, called profit, adoration, and distinction. And so when you think, well, what's the use? I mean, what do I get out of it? I get this idea that I'm important. I get this idea that I'm getting some honor. And you get some kind of satisfaction from that. But what are you satisfying? You're not satisfying the soul. The soul's principle is to love and to serve and to give pleasure to others. And the mind, using the false ego, jumps in there, and then the false ego takes credit for the activities you perform. And therefore you start thinking, well, I'm important, I'm full of knowledge. Therefore, we always try to keep the consciousness that we are servant. And one of the reasons why we may be also endeavoring in that way is we're not getting the happiness in Krishna consciousness that we should be getting by the executing of devotional service. So we kind of substitute something material for the lack of the happiness that we should be getting in the execution of our devotional service. So it comes from a type of unsatisfied spiritual practice. So we redirect that to get some satisfaction in a more subtle material way. But if we're happy in Krishna consciousness with the process of hearing, chanting, associating with devotees, and engaging in devotional service, then even if we do go in that direction, we'll be immediately aware, oh, what am I doing? This is all Maya. But if we're not even aware or we keep going in that direction, that means there's something missing in our spiritual life that should be there, and we're trying to substitute it for this false position that we're trying to attain. Because ultimately it is false, because ultimately it's Krishna who's the ability in all living entities. So when you do something and you do get some acclaim or some acknowledgement or some distinction, we always think, oh, it's by Krishna's grace. It's by the spiritual master's mercy. And therefore we pass it on, because we know we're just an instrument for whatever they want us to do. In any activity we perform, we are an instrument and not the doer. Ultimately, Krishna provides the ingredients, he provides the intelligence, he provides the situation. Everything is provided by the Supreme Lord through his different energies. And then when we come into that situation, the knowledge and the ability is also given by him. He says that, so we're trying to take a false position that is not our position. It's false. When you recognize that, then you just become aware of that, and then you stop it. That's all. And as I mentioned, and even if you do something and you become the center, you get some, what we say, satisfaction for doing something, and everyone acknowledges that, and they say, oh, well done, thank you, you did great service. Sometimes you get a garland and other things. You think, oh, well, by Krishna's mercy, I was able to perform this. By my spiritual master's guidance, I was able to do something that benefited others. That's all. Just pass it on. And that's correct. And that's in line with reality. To take this position of wanting to be the center, you're actually creating a false sense of reality. You can't be the center. It's not possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking that it's like, I want to be the center, but I've got no capacity, no capability. Like, how, it's like, how can I be, how? I can't even be the center of one place. And there's Krishna, he's the center of everything. And it's like, it's so consuming. And I think it's that consumption that then wears down the mind and the heart. So,
well, that's called pride. And pride is translated in Sanskrit as mada. Mada means madness. It's a form of insanity.
Okay, so practice.
And if you continue that way, Krishna will do something to derail your false ego.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very painful. Like there was one book distributor, he was distributing books, and he met one lady, this was in Europe, and she was so happy to meet him, and she got a book. She had received books before. She was thanking him for the service he was doing. She was glorifying the book, the information that she received, and she really poured it on. And then when she left, he developed somewhat of a little sense of pride. And then he went on and he met another man, and he wanted to give him a book, and the man wouldn't even take the book. But he was a little aggressive. And so finally the man said, let me see what you got. He said, oh yeah, I know these books. I read these books. And it talks about the qualities of those who are devotees of the Lord, and I can see you have none of these qualities. So here he handed the book back to him and said, you should read it. You need it more than I did. So yeah. So Krishna sent that man just to bring him back to his sanity.
Wow.
So that was special mercy.
Okay.
Sometimes we don't get that. We go on with this false sense, and then then one of our friends kind of knocks us off or something. Or a wife tells us, you know, you're useless. Something, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So Maharaj, I think I think the main thing I'm hearing, Maharaj, is that it's false. That even if I got it, then what good is it anyway? And I should be passing it on. And mainly that it's like a poor substitute for spiritual happiness. And if I'm not getting that spiritual happiness, then I'm looking for it in these wrong places.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's just natural to want to find some satisfaction in the activities we perform. So if we're not getting it in the spiritual way, we may, due to a lack of understanding, look for it in a external way, material way.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you.
Hey, Krishna.
Thanks, Prabhu. Any other questions, devotee? Yes, Shridevi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Satyabhama. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I'm really picking up on Kanjanabja Prabhu's, question as well as his realizations. And I'm wondering whether an extension of the false ego is manifesting, because of late I'm finding myself losing my temper for little things. Why didn't you give me correct change, rickshawala? Why didn't you do this or do that, or something small and silly and not very important, but I'm losing my temper for small things. And this is the dham, these are dhamvasis, so I'm getting really scared that is this again the same extension of false ego?
Obviously, the cause is you're not chanting your rounds nicely. It goes back to your japa. If your japa is nice, you won't be affected like the way you're saying. You have to work on putting more attention, devotion, time, and effort, and chanting nicely. That's the underlying cause. Because when you're chanting nicely, you won't be like that.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for the warning.
Yeah, it's based on our japa.
Thank you. Thanks, Maharaj. Thanks, Mataji. Vrishabh Prabhu, please go ahead. Vrishabh Prabhu, you're on mute.
Usually Maharaj, please assemble devotees. Maharaj really liked your sentence about you can spoke.
Your voice is not clear, Prabhu. If you could please repeat your question. Your voice is not clear.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me better?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So about speaking about the holy name and Harinams and the importance of spreading the holy name, I just had a question. If there are only few devotees that can go for Harinam, let's say 2 or 3 of them, is it maybe better if we go for Sankirtan instead, and then in this way try to bring more people, and then after that kind of have a Harinam and Sankirtan at the same time? Any comments on that?
No, why are you comparing? Whatever works. Do Harinam. You can do Harinam with 3 people. You can do book distribution with 1 person. It's not like, should I do this or should I do that? What is the program? If the program's Harinam, then do Harinam. If the program is book distribution, do book distribution. Don't compare.
Thank you.
Well, both are absolute, both are powerful, both are direct forms of preaching.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Prabhu. Anyone else? So while we're waiting for another question, I just wanted to thank Guru Maharaj and Mataji for the wonderful question and answer about Mataji was saying that she's getting short-tempered, and I felt that after my India trip, I was also, I had some changes was happening. And Guru Maharaj has rightly pointed out that, I think chanting is not effective, and we don't usually travel, but after 1 month's travel, I feel like after coming back, even after the Dham visits, everything, the trip was totally spiritual, but still after coming back, I feel my chanting. This is why I'm feeling like all the negatives are coming out from me, and the attention is not there, and it just feeling that bhav that used to be there, the focus used to be there in deity worship and things is not there. And I thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for answering the question to Shridevi Mataji, is that chanting is essential, and yeah, so I feel like I've got my answer as well. Thank you. Anyone else? We still have 10 minutes on this call, so maybe Guru Maharaj can take 1 or 2 questions. Yes, Vishal Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Hare Krishna devotees, I would like to maybe use this as a comment, if it's possible, Guru Maharaj, if you allow me.
Yes, go ahead, Prabhu.
So I was just here in Lika camp, and there are a few devotees here around. That some of them have cows as well. So just my recent experience with this amazing divine creature called the cow. There is one cow called Surabi, and we took some potatoes out of the ground. We came close to her, and she was like so joyfully coming towards us. She honored the potatoes, and because of the happiness and joy, she started to pass stool because of the happiness of it. And sometimes he said, like, she passed also urine. And I was just looking at this wonderful animal, thinking like, wow, everything about this animal is so auspicious, so amazing. And Prabhu said, like, when we carried the cow, all the wealth of like, I didn't have anything, and then I got the cow, and then like all the wealth, whatever I have, actually came from the cow. And I'm just like, wow. Can't imagine that, I think that for the first time, when Maharaj was repeating how many cows are being killed every day, I just feel so brokenhearted to think even like to harm such an animal. Well, I guess that's why, we have to be strong in preaching to really, turn this around. I don't know. But anyway, so I just wanted to share and inspire, any recent association with Mother Cow.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we encourage devotees to take as much time and take whatever opportunities that come up is to go and spend time with cows. You learn so much just by being there.
One devotee said that, so their cows, they were giving milk the whole time until, even though like maybe one day before that, like passing away, because of the love and exchange they had with the owners, which is incredible. And also the way that they have the aura, and they're reading your thoughts constantly, and just, you cannot be angry next to a cow. It's just like 30 seconds, you kind of just cool down because of the auspiciousness of their presence.
Yeah, even if they step on your foot, you can't get angry.
Yeah. I didn't try that one yet.
Well, yeah, well, I wouldn't suggest you do. But I'm saying, it's just the nature of those animals is that they bring a type of serenity. They even the non-devotees now have programs, and they charge a large amount of money, like $40 for 1 hour to spend 40. You could spend $40 or $50, and you get to spend 1 hour with a cow. And just being with the cow, people come out, and their whole mood is very much peaceful, many times happy, relieved of their mental anxieties. That's just a small indication from the material point of view what the benefits of a cow.
Maharaj, I have a small question about plowing the land, because there's kind of this, I don't know how much truth is there in this research, that plowing the land and turning the land, it just destroys the top soil, which is the most fertile. And they even suggest like things like putting different straws layers on the ground, and then things can, and then cow dung, and then again straws, and then you can actually kind of get also kind of plant things. I'm just thinking, like, is it a Vedic thing to plow the land? And do you have any suggestion on these new technologies and permaculture?
Yeah, it's a Vedic thing to plow the land. Yeah. You see, the bulls were hooked to a particular, not necessarily a machine, but a big tool, and they would drag the tool along the ground, and that would toss the soil about. So yeah, Vedic culture was plowing the land. It's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. But when the cows walk on the land, and you put straw, cow dung, and they walk on it, that's another form of fertilizing the soil. You don't need these big tractors. Tractors are just, they use them to replace the cows.
The Vedic things are always much superior than any modern.
Yeah, but everyone likes machines nowadays because it seems to be easier.
Even
you don't have to feed the machine. All you have to do is put some gas in it. Or you have to feed a cow, or you have to arrange for the cow to get fed. The bull too. It's the bulls that do the plowing.
I heard, Maharaj, from the devotees that had the bulls. They said that when you train them really nicely, they can read your minds, so much so that you don't have to tell them what you're doing today. They just see you and they know where they have to go and what they have to do. And so much so that even like Matajis can go with them without any struggle and plow the land. So it's actually even much more automatized than any software machine engineering can do. Paramatma, I guess. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Guru Maharaj, there is a question from Namrata Mataji. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. So the question is, when the body is deteriorating, but a person feels the presence of the Lord in heart, what kind of symptoms does that person show?
Happiness. They feel happy. We've seen that with devotees who are leaving the body. The body's deteriorating, but They're feeling the presence of Krishna in the heart. Therefore, they're enjoying their experience.
Like we have seen the pictures of Pankaj Jangri Prabhu's departure. It was a very effulgent and glowing face, and that shows that, you know, he was seeing the Lord's presence.
Yeah, same with Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
Yes.
Many. Sometimes the devotee is actually giving instructions to others as they're leaving. One lady, she was leaving, she was married, she told her husband, well, after I'm God, you take sannyas.
So Mataji is saying this question comes from your lecture before a few days after, about Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj's class. So on that lecture, she's also asking the question.
Yeah, so many examples.
Thank you. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. And Amrita Mataji, I guess that answers the question. Is there any other last minute questions? Otherwise, we can close the call. We're about an hour. We have reached an hour. Yes, Sudha Mataji, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Guru Maharaj, my question is on attachment. So, for attachment, Guru Maharaj, you gave example of Dhritarashtra. So, Dhritarashtra is like he has a lot of family attachment, even though Kauravas are not fires, yet demonic. So Dhritarashtra, out of attachment, he was supporting Kauravas. And here Kunti Maharani prayers, attachment to her Pandavas is like more a Krishna conscious. She is very Krishna conscious, and Pandavas are also very Krishna conscious. So when it comes like when Kunti Maharani is praying to Krishna for detachment, so how should we, I mean, you might have explained, but my understanding is very low. So how, because as you explained, like attachment means like not if kids are not Krishna conscious, family is not Krishna conscious, you should not be attached to them.
Materially attached. You can't get rid of attachment. Attachment is there. To have relationships with other living entity is normal. And to develop attachments for that relationship is normal. But when it's material, it doesn't benefit either one. That takes one away from the real attachment. Is that we develop attachment for each other based on our relationship with Krishna. So that attachment plays itself out in service. You serve that person you're attached to by giving them something that will help them in their spiritual life.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Just like you have your children. And so you have to give them food, you have to give them education. But everything is done in a Krishna conscious way. You give them prasadam, you give them spiritual knowledge, you give them motherly affection. All of that is fine. But Krishna is the center. It's not that, well, I'm my body and you're my body and I'm using my body to serve your body. No, we're using our body and mind to serve, another living entity who is part and parcel of Krishna. So whatever form they are in, whether they're children, husband, wife, whatever, these relationships are there. And there should be some kind of affection based on that relationship, but that affection is not material. Spiritual. Because I love Krishna, I also love all his parts and parcels.
Okay. So, thank you, Guru Maharaj. So, like Kunti Maharini prayers are like she's praying to Krishna for detachment from family bondage, right? So, but she's already Krishna conscious, and Pandavas also like she's giving that Krishna conscious. So, what kind of detachment she's praying? Like, how should I?
She's being honored, and she doesn't want that to be honored by the Pandavas or the Vrishnis, who are both her family members. She sees that she's a very important person, very much loved person, and she sees that as being a diversion from her attachment to her love for Krishna. She wants to take herself out of the center and bring Krishna more into the center.
Okay.
And she has, as Prabhupada said, a woman has attachment for two families, a man has attachment for one. The woman has attachment for the husband's family and for her own family, for the father's family and for the husband's family. Women have two families. A man generally has one, just his family. So a woman gets attached to her husband, she also gets attached to his family members. So she's saying that all of this attachment simply is a diversion away from you. She wants to be exclusively attached to Krishna. That's all. She's not going to give up her relationships, because these relationships are part of her devotional life also. But at the same time, she wants to give up the attachment that comes from that relationship and become attached to Krishna exclusively.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much. So very, very higher level. Thank you so much. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We are looking forward for your arrival, Guru Maharaj, in Charlotte eagerly. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Be there in 2 days.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. We all are waiting for your arrival. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Or we can close the call, Guru Maharaj?
You're in charge.
Yes, we can close the call. Krishna.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll see you tomorrow for verse number 44.
Okay.
Hela Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thanks, everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.